Hey guys, welcome back to the Afternoon Drives Part 2. I actually had to go and help one of my coworkers with his printer. He was having a problem getting his wireless printer installed, so we went ahead and got him up and going. But I just wanted to make sure that I got back because I still got a little ways to go home. But we were talking about if you were watching the first part, I was kind of letting you guys know something that happened today, which was really pretty cool. There's the inmates that I actually instruct, I teach. They have to go through a part of their curriculum is actually what's called Compass 100, and it's really designed to kind of help them to deal with some of the problems and some of the issues and some of the more important things that they need to deal with before they're released back into society. It kind of helps them get acclimated back to life, so to speak. But a lot of what I was doing today was going through them, and it dealt a lot with motivation. And if you guys have been watching the stream, as I said, I'm a new streamer. I just started in January. But I'm really, one of the things that I'm really big into, that I really believe, is that motivation, inspiration, education, that type of stuff. I really like that because I believe it can change a person and it can make all the difference in the world. Well, these guys today got a chance to watch some of the Tony Robbins, some of the speeches and some of the lectures and some of the actual seminars that he gives throughout the country, throughout the world, and listen to some of the audio that he's posted on YouTube, and great motivational stuff, really insightful, and it has a really powerful impact to them, to where when they start to hear it, it's one thing if one person tells them or another, but when they see that here's a guy that has a defined history of helping not just the sports greats and the presidents and people of wealth, but he has helped people all across the world, millions of people, succeed in their life. And I think when they started to see that, today it was really great because you can see a lot of people just really tune in to what it takes to change their lives for the better. I got a hold of some of his, it was called 30 Days to Personal Power, and I actually had two very successful businessmen that utilized those tapes to build their business, and they had suggested the tapes to me, and I was really, I'd seen Tony Robbins on late night TV kind of pitching the tapes, and I really wasn't into, self-help or the motivation thing back then. But I found myself buying the tapes anyway, and they had such a tremendous impact on me, not just back then, but it's kind of followed me all through my life. A lot of the principles, a lot of the realities of life that he was very instrumental in putting in and making me realize and see things in a way that I had not seen them. Even though once you do see it, you're like, oh, how could I not have seen that, or how could I not have known that? But sometimes it takes somebody to really make you see, and that's really what his tapes did for me. And I'm going to tell you, folks, if you ever get a chance, if you don't know who Tony Robbins is, do a YouTube, look him up, and if you do know who he is, I would highly recommend trying a seminar. Go to one of the seminars. He's got one in Boca Raton here that he does every year. It's like, I think it's 6 days. It's like a date with destiny or something. I can't remember the name of it. But it's a very popular one that he does here in Florida. And I would recommend it all day long to folks that want to really try and change their lives and really be impacted by something positive. But it was really great today to actually get these guys involved and see them watching it, and just the hunger for more information. The hunger for... And that's kind of... It got me into thinking, I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that Tony Robbins does not have anything really put together. I mean, there are so many prisons in this country alone where the inmates could, if they were empowered, if they were given the tools that he gives, if they had some kind of a personal power series within these prison walls, a lot of these inmates that are walking out of here would walk out and be able to make a tremendous difference, not just in their lives, but in the lives of their communities, in the lives of their friends, their families, and all the people that they touch by embracing and understanding the principles that Tony Robbins was trying to teach them. And I think that I'm very surprised that he has not put together a program like that and sold it to these prisons, because it really would be a great part of the prison. Now, we do what's called a continuum of care in our facility, which does some basics, helping them to find a job, and it's a great first step. But I think it could be so much more with a little bit of effort and a little bit of buy-in from senior management to understand there's many more steps that you can do that are very inexpensive for the company, but yet make such a huge difference in the lives of these inmates. So I almost want to sit down and I think I will. I'm going to actually probably write every month or every quarter we have a publication that comes out for our facility, for our company, that's distributed, and a lot of the people that are in the facilities contribute to this. We'll call it a quarterly news, news magazine or whatever. And I'm really thinking I might go ahead and write a story and emphasize how important some of these ideas and initiatives could be to the company if they were in fact implemented, because it would change the lives of, just impact so many people on a positive note. And I really think that that's something that I would love to kind of pursue and see, because when you watch this was just one day, and you just watch, and the funny part was a lot of them you could see get very emotional. I mean, that's a huge, when you're in a prison, the last thing you want to do is show weakness. But when you're surrounded with other people and you're embracing what's being said, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of realization that what he was doing was reaching them. And I'm going to tell you, and everybody said the same thing. They were, when they were leaving, they were just starving for more, and they really were happy to hear that word that they needed to hear from him. These tips on how, not just how to defeat addiction and how to change your life, but really how to, he talked about suicide. It was all these things that impact these inmates every day. And I think what made it such a powerful day was they all not only embraced watching this, they were mesmerized by it, and there was not a single person in there that wasn't focused on what they showed. Tony Robbins helping a 13-year-old girl with suicidal thoughts, and who really at 13 had these thoughts, and he helped her to understand why she was having these thoughts, and really got down. And it was just one session with her, but then they follow it up and they see where she is 6 months, and 6 months later, years later. And he did the same thing with a husband and wife they were having marital problems. It was just the way he dives into it. It makes you see really what you don't see, and that was, I think they really loved it. So that was actually pretty cool today. That was one of the highlights of my day. I love that motivational stuff, and there's tons of people that do it. If you look at, I'm not sure if you're religious, but some people are, some people aren't. But there's a lot of folks that they love Joel Osteen. They'll watch Joel Osteen. I consider him the Tony Robbins of religion, right? He doesn't preach a lot of gospel, so to speak, even though he weaves it into the message. But he's really like a very inspirational, motivational pastor. But he doesn't really quote scripture, quote the Bible very often. He will weave it in there, but the message is always a positive one. So people really like Joel because he's got a positive message, and he usually, he ties it into scripture. But then you have people like T.D. Jakes. T.D. Jakes has got a very powerful message, very often tied in with scripture and what's meant in the word. But it's a great messages. Like, if you ever watch him, he's got one that's called "There's Nothing More Powerful Than a Changed Mind." And then that's kind of the whole thing that particular sermon was all about. And this was back at a CCA facility, another prison where I worked. That was one of the ones I showed my guys. There's nothing more powerful than a changed mind. And it was just a really powerful sermon that he gave that motivated these guys to change. And I'm telling you folks, it's really neat to be able to see sometimes how just a little thing can make a difference in someone's day, and maybe it changes them for today for only one day, or maybe it changes them for the rest of their life. But to see that and to find the impact that you can have, and there's so many different ways to reach out and do that, it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate that, corporations and companies don't see the benefit of spending, they'll spend time, money, and effort buying people, we bought you guys lunch, or we did these little things, but they don't spend the time or the resources to develop the mind of their coworkers, let alone in my case, the inmates. They throw money at the things that really have minimal impact when they could actually take and spend the same amount of money and maximize the impact. And it's kind of disheartening sometimes, but if you're like me, you just kind of move forward. You just think that, what, you'll do what you can do. Like I try to do what I can do to have an impact, to make a little change. And that was, if you were watching the stream Friday during the afternoon drive, and even Friday morning, I kind of got the epiphany that, I wanted to start doing something that really made me feel good, and it also gave us topics to talk about on the show, when we're there on, every evening at 7, to have something to talk about cool. And one of the things that I decided I was going to do are just these little random acts of kindness. I was going to do them on Saturdays, go out, and, you guys could, during the week, we could talk about what would be some really cool things to do, and we could go out and try, and I could go ahead and videotape them. I bought a selfie stick, which still getting used to. Feels really weird to have everybody looking at you while you're talking to yourself out loud, but it was really a good time I had. We did a lot of little acts. I mean, of just buying lunch for a couple people, buying movie tickets. We left a really good tip for our waiter, things like that. That really made someone's day, and that goes back to tying into just. Life is too short, man. It really is. You're here this long. If you're truly blessed, you're here maybe 100 years. And you've heard me say it. Those first 20, 25 years don't really count because they're your education. You're learning what you like, what you don't like. You're developing relationships. Those are really the informative years where you're just learning about life in general. So, you're not really living a life during those. You're kind of finding out what life's about. And those last 25 years to 30 years of your life are kind of the reflective years, when you reflect back on what you've accomplished, what differences you've made, and you look at your achievements. So your first years and your ending years are kind of just there, but it's in between where you can make that difference. It's those years from, let's say, 26 to 66 or whatever. Those are the years that you really, truly, you find out who you are, what you enjoy, and hopefully you can make a difference in other people's lives too. So it was kind of cool today. I love days that come together. They go by really quick. When you're doing something positive, you're making that difference, or at least you feel you are. Your day just flies by, and mine did. And I caught myself a couple times. I got on, and during my lunch, I looked at some of the news channels, and we talked about this before, where everything you read, every single website you go to, bad news, bad news, bad news. It does nothing but target you and say, we're going to give you all the pessimistic bad news we can give you, see how much you can stomach, and we'll throw in a fluffy kitten story every now and then. And I actually, during lunch, I started to go, and I went to one website, and right off the bat, there's negative, 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 and so I switched. I went to another one, and they were negative, negative, negative. I said, oh man, I went to a third one, same thing, and I said, you know what? Off. Didn't even do it. So I didn't look to see what was in the news too much, other than it was bad about the Grammys here, bad about Trump here, bad about Pelosi, and all. It was just everything that. And I said, yeah, I'm tired of that. I'm not going to get polluted and poisoned by a toxic media that feels that that's news, that these things that they're putting out there to be news are really not newsworthy. They're not impacting, like, for example, they're going to talk about nothing but put down people at the Grammys and bad things, and I'm going, well, how does that affect my life one single bit? They're going to talk about how Pelosi and Barbara Streisand, they showed pictures of Pelosi and Barbara Streisand and these celebrities doing this little thing, and I'm like, do you know what that is? That is just Democrats, and that is just the media trying to poison the views of the American people, and I'm so tired of it. I'm really getting to that point where I'm like, you know what? Screw the media. I don't care anymore. I really, truly, they want to tell me, oh, this guy went in and killed 20 people in this bar in California. Do I need to know about that? Do I really need to know about something that happened in California, or some nutcase went in and did something terrible and crushed the lives of 50 people in a bar? No, I don't need to know that. Do I need to know when somebody does something terrible here and there? No, I don't. And I don't want to know about it. Not because I want to be ignorant about it, but because I know life. I know shit happens. I know that stuff exists. I know there's nasty, terrible people out there. But do you really got to bring it up and throw it in my face every 5 minutes? Now, if it happens in my community and there's healing to be done, then I can see it. But if it's 100 miles away, bring that bad news to me. Bring me something more positive. Tell me about the youth of today that are doing something good. Tell me about the people today that are changing the lives of other people. That's what I want. Now, if you can't tell me about the good in the world and the positive side of things, then don't tell me anything. Because I'm going to tell you what the media does is it keeps the American people wallowing in self-pity and misery and hopelessness. That seems to be what they want to do. They don't want you to be successful. They don't want you to succeed. They don't want you to see that there is hope. They don't want you to see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and it's not a train coming. They don't want you, that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe it is a train, but they don't want you, the American public, me, or they don't want truly happiness in America because there's no money in that. It doesn't sell. Happiness doesn't sell. You know what sells newspapers? Drama, bad news, all of those things. That's what sells papers. That's what makes headlines. It's not when there's births, people are having happy, healthy babies. When people are doing good deeds, when people are out there and they're doing amazing things, very rarely does that ever make the newspaper. Why? Why doesn't that make the news? Well, because that would make you feel good. We don't want to do that. That doesn't sell papers. What sells paper is strife, war, all these things that are terrible, terrible things. That's what the media has gotten in. That's what's the news. It's greed, power, billionaire struggles. It's all the things that they want you to believe that America is suffering with. That, I'm here to tell you, yeah, there's struggles out there, but I'm going to tell you firsthand that I guarantee you, no matter how bad you got it here in our country, there is someone else in the world that is 100, if not 1,000 times worse. You can be homeless, living under a bridge, no food, no clothing, and you can still find people in this world that are worse off than you are. So, I just can't believe that the media has sunk into such a low point that over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, their source of news has been acceptable to you and I. Let's face it. How many people here really, I want to know honestly, how many people sitting here watching really enjoy going to CNN or MSN or Fox News or USA Today or any of these? How many of you really enjoy going in and reading about the people that killed their children, that the husband that killed his wife and kids, the people that went out and abducted and raped these women? How many of you really enjoy that crap? I'm going to guarantee you that there's very few of you. And the ones that you do, it's not your fault you're broken. You kind of been suckered into that. It's slowly snuck up over years years and years, it has slowly been that the only way to sell papers, the only way to really get publicity is negative publicity. And now it's like every now and then we'll do a cat video, or we'll do a real good feel-good story. It's called a teaser. They'll tease you with something that you really are interested in, that you want to see, and then they'll feed you all the bad stuff you don't want to see. So we'll tease this good deed, and then we'll feed them the bunch of crap that's going on, and then we'll show them the little fluff before we end it on a sour note. I mean, yeah, I go off on a rant. This is my thinking out loud. So if you're actually sticking with me on the way home, God bless you. Love you. I hope you do me a favor. Follow me if you can on Twitch. Follow me on Mixer. Subscribe on YouTube. Wherever you're watching, I'd love to have you guys come on board and chat with me. I stream in the mornings at 6:15, doing my morning drive. Kind of what I'm doing now, just thinking out loud during the morning. Then in the afternoon drive, same thing. Just kind of go through my whatever's in my head or what's going on. And then tonight I'll be on at 7 o'clock. And if you can join us, jump on into the chat and we'll have some conversation about whatever. It doesn't really matter what we talk about. But I do think that it's, it's probably high time that I just make a decision. I'm going to have to try and look and research different news channels, different news outlets that are not so focused on the negative, but are more focused on the positive. Give a message of hope, inspiration, motivation. That's what I want to read. Those are the news stations. I want to read about somebody that did a good deed for and paid for a scholarship for someone. I want to read about the people that dropped in a gold coin to the Santa Claus on the street ringing the bell. I want to read more about the positive things that happen in life, not the negative. That's kind of why this weekend, Saturday, was important to me, because it kind of just reestablishes, you know what, sometimes I can go out and I can do nice things and with no expectations of anything in return. Just do it because I want to do it and not have an ulterior motive. It feels good. I enjoy doing it. And I kind of challenged everybody else on Friday, do something nice. Just go ahead. It doesn't have to be monetarily. You can just give a good word. You can give some motivation or inspiration to somebody who's having a bad day. Anything you can do to just kind of reach out and make that person smile or be a positive influence, that's going to be appreciated by anybody. So I challenged you guys Friday, then I went out and did it on Saturday, and I think that's kind of what I've decided on my channel. I'll do it, every Saturday. I'll probably go out and do a couple little things. And I told you guys before, I'm not, there's a lot of folks that stream for a living. They make a living doing a stream, and hopefully, you guys enjoy their streams. Like the guy I always tell you about, Barnacles. Barnacles, he does his stream, and he absolutely 100%, does it full time. That's his job, and he derives his income from that. I have a real job. I kind of, I'm not in it for the money. I stream because I like it. It's kind of therapeutic in a way. You kind of just, I can be myself. I don't have to sit here and try to be somebody I'm not. So for me, I don't do it for the income, but I will tell you, I have set it up. I've set up all my streams to where I can accept bits on Twitch, embers on whatever it is, a Mixer, and tips. You can give tips, bits, all those things. And what I have them doing is I have a PayPal card that was sent to me. I have anything monetarily that's going to go into that. I'm going to use that card to go out and film all these little random acts of kindness. So whatever you give to me, you're not really giving to me. You're giving to hopefully for the greater good, so we can do some fun stuff. So if you have bits, you got 100 bits or 1,000 bits, go ahead, throw them at me. I'll definitely make sure they go to really good use. Same thing with your embers. If you've got embers and you can throw them my way, throw them that way. Or if I'm doing a stream and you actually say, you know what, I like this guy, and you say, I'm going to tip him $1 or $2 just for the effort. Just know that it's not going to my pocket. I'm going to go ahead and put it on that card. And every weekend when I go out, and I'll take you guys with me on my selfie stick, and we'll get to enjoy these little random acts of kindness that we do. And as the channel grows, I'm hoping that that side will grow as well. Because I really would love to do things like pay for someone's electric bill, pay for them to a college semester of college or something. I would love to be able to do bigger and better things, and then that'll happen with the more folks that come on board and join the stream, and we can really enjoy that time together. I'm very optimistic it'll happen over time. But I can't do it without you guys. I want to thank everybody. Your emails are great. I take all your considerations. I take everything under consideration. I listen to what you say. I even checked my email at work today, and which I will tell you, one of you, and I'm not going to point you out, but one of you sent me an email which I've went back and I confirmed is true, and I'm consciously going to try not to do it. I just did it. If you missed that, it was pointed out to me that I say and I take these pauses, but I'll say things such as and I do just that. I do a silent pause, and I'll do it for effect or for whatever reason. But if I have something to say, I'll stop, think about it, and I'll say it. But I've noticed, and one of you have pointed out to me, that in my stream, my speaking habits have actually changed. I'm not pausing. I'm more looking for filler. I'm trying to fill those silences with a noise or some type of sound. So as it appears that I'm continuously speaking or engaging. And quite frankly, it's bothering me now that I've went back and watched a few of the actual streams I've done, and I sit there and I cringe. I go, oh God, how many times did I say How many times did I say and I just cringe because now that I see it and I watch it. And then you pointed out, I guess, on one of the videos from this weekend, when the gentleman, the waiter at Buffalo Wild Wings, Buffalo Wild Wings, the waiter at Buffalo Wild Wings was telling me his story. You said that I was looking at him going, yeah. Now I have to go back and watch that one because I remember the conversation, and you're probably right. I probably sat there and went, yeah, acknowledging over and over. But you said, I sound like a skipped record. I think that's what you said. You sound like the record was skipping on the word yeah or yes. So I have to go back and watch that, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be a bad speaker. You know, I've actually had public speaking. I've taken speech classes. I've had Toastmasters, and Toastmasters really broke me of the habit a long time ago, and that's why I'm kind of surprised it's coming back. They did the very first Toastmasters I was in. They have you give speeches, and as you give these speeches, if you use those type of words, these filler words, if you use those, they would ring a bell. So everybody would get these bells, and as you're up there giving your speech, they're all hitting and ringing these bells when you use these words that you're not supposed to. And it was terrible. It was absolutely the worst thing. And every day or every week when you would come and give your speeches, and you would get the bell. So pretty soon, by the end of the actual Toastmasters program, you're very articulate. You can enunciate properly. You know what it's like to conjugate a verb. You don't cut off your sentences. You don't use inappropriate words or filler words. It's a very positive program to be involved in, and it teaches you how to speak better in public. But I find for the stream, I've actually noticed, after you've called it to my attention now, that I have fallen back into my old ways. Whereas before this stream, even in classroom around friends and family, even there I was not saying and and I was just speaking clearly, concisely. But I believe that the fact that I'm on a live stream, there's a certain amount of pressure to constantly be speaking, constantly having some kind of thought come out of your mouth, for fear that people will come to your channel, not hear anything, not see that you're not speaking, and then they just go somewhere else. So you almost feel obligated to consistently speak and at a rapid pace. That was another thing that was... So you guys really point out a lot of things that I really enjoy reading them and learning, because as I go back and watch, I can absolutely see what you're talking about. And once again, one of the things you pointed out to me was rapid fire speech. That I should slow down, not be afraid to take a breath, and to actually relax a little bit more when I speak, and don't feel that I have to go a mile a minute. And I see it, and I was doing it just a little while ago. You're right. I do speak quickly and try to be more concise without those words, but it's definitely tough, because you still to engage. That's why I said stop by tonight, 7 o'clock, jump on. We'll talk about anything. I don't really care. But I don't want to be caught bringing back those something that once you called my attention, I went back and watched a few of the videos I did. I couldn't help but just nod my head and say all my bad habits are back. So I'm going to try and get back to speaking the way I normally do. I may not fill as many gaps in the holes in the conversation, but at least when I do say something, hopefully it'll be much more clear, much more concise, much more thought through than just throwing it out there. So you kind of are vested in my success. You want me to succeed, because none of the conversations or emails you guys have sent have been hurtful. I mean, they've been just great suggestions. Great. Now there has been a couple that accuse me of leaning one way towards political party or another way, and they might have been a little harsh. But once again, I read them and interpreted them from what they were, and they were truly somebody that just disagreed with me on a stance of something, or on religion. Some of the religious emails I got were interesting, and they had different views. Oh, excuse me. But all in all, I mean, every email I've gotten has been positive, and that's great. You can matter of fact, I will do my email for you right now. It's POV America, the name of the channel. So it's povamerica@outlook.com. You're always welcome to send me emails, and I will either address them on the air, on the stream, I should say. And, see, I just did it again. I will either address it on the air during the stream, or I will reply back to your email and go from there. Now, I will tell you, sometimes you send me an email that isn't very helpful. Occasionally, it's not so much a tip, not even really a complaint, but just something you've noticed, kind of like what we were talking about, the pause and using the filler words. It's not hurtful, but there are some things that I can't change. Oh my God, it's going to drive me crazy now. I'm going to sit here, every time I do it, I'm going to correct myself, and it's going to absolutely drive me crazy now. I'm going to have to beat myself into submission to where I don't use those filler words anymore. No more no more I have to put something in effect, so I don't do that anymore. It just bothered. Now it bothers me. Now that I know, I've reverted back to my caveman ways. I don't know. What am I going to do? There's definitely a lot of there's definitely a lot of things I want to change, but that's going to be the death of me if I can't get rid of that pause with a filler word. That's all I can think of to call it, is a filler word. I have to be able to get rid of that. So I'm going to be home shortly, guys. I will see you at around 7 o'clock. So if you did hang with me, yeah, I appreciate you, and hopefully you logged on to the channel and got some kind of humor out of this day. I don't know. It's definitely been a weird day all the way around. But I'm glad you stopped by. Glad you follow me if you follow me. Great having you guys send me the emails and really engage with the channel. It's killing me. I don't want to say those stupid filler words just to have a sound out there instead of an actual word. So I'm going to work on this. It's going to be a work in progress. Bear with me. Let me go through this and just see if I can stop it. Subconsciously, I have no idea what clicked in, and all of a sudden I felt I had to do that, other than the fact that I'm talking out loud and not in my head like I usually do. So, guys, I'm at home right now. I'm going to go ahead and log off. I'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock if you jump on. And have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning if you don't join us tonight. So